Matthew chapter 7. Let's go to verse number 7. Matthew chapter 7, verse number 7. King James Version says this: Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and to he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. The grass withers, flower fades, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Turn to your neighbor. Say, neighbor, it's good to see you this morning. By the grace of God and with the help of God, Pastor wants to talk about you don't have to live like this. Amen. 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 Can we make that personal real quick? I don't have to live like this. A few years ago, Drake had a song out that simply said, I just want to be successful. Kevin Hart would have to interrupt and say, but the way my life is set up, I don't really even focus on success. I'm just trying to stop failing. I'm just trying to make it from day to day. I'm just trying to get past where I am at. Success seems so far down the road. I just want to be able to survive. And so success is, so that we're all on the same page, it is the accomplishment or the attainment of one's goal. Success is not being rich. Success is not power. Success is not having a certain status on your job. For somebody, success is being the best hairstylist in Dallas. For someone, success is working at a nonprofit, not making much money, but making a huge impact. Success for someone is being able to feed the family every day. And so we can't look at one and just say they are successful. But it's an individual goal. It's an individual accomplishment. It's an individual attainment that ascribes one's success. For someone, the fact that they just got a bachelor's degree is successful to them because nobody else in their family had a degree. And so they were successful in that. And so what I'm saying is you can't look at your neighbor and ascribe success to yourself based upon them. I can't look at you and say that you are successful or not successful. It depends on your goals. It depends on what you desire to do. And so today I want to help somebody, just real briefly. I want to help us this morning to be able to understand that we don't have to live like this. You can be successful. You don't have to live like many of us are in a position in life that we can't wait till tomorrow. We can't wait to the future. We can't wait because we're so unhappy right now. But the Bible says this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Y'all gonna go with me this morning? All right, I just want to make sure I'm on the right train because I'm ready to take off. Here we go. The text this morning says, ask and you shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find, knock, and it shall be opened unto you. I understand this, that there's a simple structure for success. There's a simple structure for success, and it's right here. First of all, if you're not going to live like you've been living, if you don't want to live like that, first of all, you've got to present the need. You got to present the need. You got to present the need. The text says, ask. You only ask for what you don't have. If you don't have it, you're in need of it. Some of us are guilty of like the man in the story in Coming to America. Everybody know that's my favorite movie. At the end of the movie, a story is told. There's a man. The waiter comes and brings him the soup, and so he says to the waiter, taste the soup. And the waiter said, what's wrong with the soup? He said, taste the soup. And he said, is it cold? Taste the soup. Is it too hot? What's wrong with the soup? Is it nasty? The guy said, taste the soup. And he said, okay, where's the spoon? The man said, aha. He went through all of that versus asking for a spoon. And many of us, if we are not careful, we will live our lives beating around the issue versus simply asking. The text says, ask. And I understand that some of us, we have an issue with asking because there's typically two reasons why we don't ask God. Typically two reasons. One, we don't feel that we're worthy. Secondly, we feel that it is no longer obtainable because of difficulty or timing. Yeah. One, we don't ask because we're not worthy. And can I just ask a question this morning? How many of us were worthy for God to wake us up this morning? That God was supposed to wake you up this morning because you're so great. How many of us are worthy to be able to have a reasonable portion of our health and strength? What does God owe us to give us a reasonable portion of our health and strength? Can I go here for a second? Some of us would have to say, look, with some of the stuff that has come out of our mouth, are we really worthy for God to give us the ability to speak? I mean, we can say some nasty stuff. We can say some crazy stuff. We can say some off-the-wall stuff. Do we really require that God would give us the ability to speak? What about our legs? We found ourselves on some streets. We found ourselves in some clubs. We found ourselves in some situations we had no business being in, that we've got ourselves into. We walked into ourselves. And so how can we stand before God and say that we are worthy for him to give us the ability to use our legs? What about our ears, with all of the nonsense and all the gossip we've lended our ear to? Does God really deserve to give us the ability to be able to hear? If I just do a quick check, I ain't talking about you, I'm talking about your neighbor. Are you really worthy of God doing anything? And so since we realize we are not worthy of God doing it, why would that stop me from asking? If I got a long list of unworthy stuff, why should it stop me from asking? So that you don't miss it, we are not worthy of the grace, the favor, the mercy that God grants to us. We're not worthy of it. We are not worthy of it, but God grants it anyhow. We don't deserve it, but God gives it anyhow. And so we've got to know that that should not stop me from asking. Here in the text, the word ask in the Greek literally means to beg. It's from one that is inferior, asking of one that is superior. It's not the same as that Jesus will use, because that's a different word in the Greek, which is two on the same level asking of something. But is one that is inferior asking of one that is superior. And so he is saying, I know that you are inferior, but ask. Can I ask a question? Have you asked God for what you want? My wife helps me out with this, because every now and then get a call, hey, can I borrow $10? And my wife will say, I gave him 20. I say, how much they asked for? 10. But you gave him how much? 20. She says, I said, well, babe, why you do that? They only asked for 10. Why give them 20? She says, because most time when people ask, they don't want to ask, so they don't ask for enough. They ask just to barely be able to skate by. They don't really ask for what they need. They just want to ask just to be able to get by. And some of us have been asking of God just to be able to barely get by. Some of us have been asking of God just to skate on through. And my question to you is, why? Why? For my birthday this year, my coworkers took me out to eat, and they said, you can go to any restaurant that you want to. Any restaurant in Dallas you want to. We can go there, and we got it. We covering you. Whatever it is that you want, go ahead and get it. And so I was thinking about some restaurants, and they were like, no, man, you need a nicer restaurant than that. That's not good enough. And I said, well, man, I'm just trying to, don't worry about what it cost. We got it. And it was hard for me. And so I said, okay. Let's just go Saltgrass. Let's go Saltgrass. I'll get a steak. And so when I got to Saltgrass, I was looking at the menu and looking at the prices, because it's different when I'm paying. I just order what I want. But when somebody else is paying, I want to be mindful of their pocket. And he said, man, don't worry about no price. We got it. Whatever it is you want, go ahead and get it. He said, today is payday. We got paid. We all got a pocket full of money. Don't worry about it. We are good. Whatever you want, go ahead and get it. So I decided to go ahead and order the biggest steak they had. And he said, that's what I want. He said, I didn't want you to get what they was getting. I want you to get the best, because we have the means to give you the best. Why would you toy with something that you really don't want, that's not enough? And so if you are living in a place that is below your expectation, below your desire, below what you really want, why? Simply ask. You do know God got a budget that's pretty big. I mean, the streets of heaven are paved with gold. God's got a budget that's pretty big. The cattle on 1,000 hills belongs to him. Look, the old preacher put it like this. He says God got so many cattle, he quit counting the cattle and started counting the hills that they were on. God has enough. And so all we've got to do is ask. You don't have to live like this. If you're frustrated with where you are, if you're tired of where you are, if you're mad about it, if you want to be further, if you want to be healed, if you want to be fixed, if you want to advance, if you want to elevate it, why not ask God? He knows what you have need of. First of all, if you're going to live different than where you are, you've got, first of all, present the need. What is it that you want God to do? Secondly, you've got to present the request. Here it is. What you tell God, what you want, tells God what you're going to do with it. You see, many of us, we get stuff and have stuff in mind, and it tells God what our intentions are. You see, my daughter is smart, and And oftentimes I'm realizing at times she's smarter than me. She gets over on me. The other day I dropped her off at school and she says, Daddy, we're going to the store. I need $8. I said, $8? What do you need $8 for? And she said, because we're going to the store and I got to get some stuff. And I said, but baby, what do you need $8 for? I said, I ain't giving you no $8. I'm giving you $5. And she said, okay. She had a need. And depending upon what the need was, depending on what I supplied her with. Because I knew what she was going to do. I knew that she wasn't going to do nothing but waste it at the store. So I gave her enough to waste it at the store. But she came with a request. She came with a request. She asked what she wanted. You've got to know that when you ask God for something, it will tell God what you're going to do with it and it defines what he's going to give unto you. You see, some of us want a job to be able to do more, to be able to do more shopping, to be able to do more traveling, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But what if you add something in kingdom building in that? That God, every time you increase my giving, my receiving, I'm going to increase my giving. That God, I'm not going to keep on being at the 10%. I want to go to 12%. I want to go to 15%. I want to go to 20%. I want to go to 30%. But God, I don't need you to reduce what I'm able to do for my family. So I need you to cause an increase so that I can increase. And if you challenge God, what will God do? He will meet your challenge. And so many of us understand this, that if I request of God, then God will give to me so that the purpose in which God has created me will go further. You see, I can ask God for whatever I want. I realize I can ask God for whatever I want. But I understand this, that what fits me has to fit within my purpose. It does me no good, Brother Lavelle, to go get a Corvette right now. It does me no good to trade in my truck for a Corvette. That's great, fine, well and dandy, but what about them 3 munchkins? Where are they gonna sit? What's gonna happen to them? And so I can ask for it, but if it doesn't fit me, it doesn't make sense. And so now it causes more confusion and more problems than it will aid to my situation. And so when we're asking, we've got to be mindful of the request that we're giving to God, because God will grant our request. The text says, ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be open unto you. You've got work to do. You got work to do. I'm almost done. Give me just a few more minutes. I promise you, I'm done. But I want to share with you just two little things. One last point, but before I get to that, let me share. Did anybody have a Bible? Okay. In my Bible, it's in red. That means that Jesus is talking. Jesus says, ask, and it shall be given to you. Jesus says, seek, and ye shall find. Jesus says, knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Jesus is talking. So if you want it, ask for it. But then sometimes you've got to seek. If you seek after it, you will find it. Some folk don't get a job because you don't seek after a job. Some people don't get it because they don't seek. You don't look for it. If you look for it, you will find it. And then some people, watch this, are afraid because of a closed door. Knock on it. It'll be open unto you. The text, I love this, I love this, I love this. Because here in the text, ask, seek, and knock are present imperatives. That means Jesus is commanding you to do it. He didn't suggest, I think you ought to ask, I think you ought to seek, I think you ought to knock. He's commanding you, ask. Commanding you, seek, commanding you, knock. He is telling you what to do. And so you don't have to live like that. You don't have to go through what you're going through. You don't have to put up with what you're putting up with. All you've got to do is ask. All you've got to do is seek. All you've got to do is knock. Because when you ask, you'll receive. When you seek, you'll find it. And when you knock, the text didn't say you get to open the door. It says it will be open unto you. Let me get this last point and I'm up out of here. You don't have to live like this. Why? Because you can present the need. Secondly, you can present the requests. But thirdly and lastly, you can present the promise. I did read verse 8, right? Verse 8 says, for everyone that asketh, receiveth. And to he that seeketh, findeth. And to him that knocketh, it shall be opened. Verse 7 tells us what to do. But verse 8 tells us why we ought to do it. Did y'all catch that? Verse 7 tells us what to do. Ask, and it shall be given. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. It tells us what to do, but verse 8 tells us why we ought to do it. Why? Because everyone that asketh, receiveth. Everyone that seeketh, findeth. Everyone that knocketh, it shall be opened. And so we've got to understand what God is doing. Don't have to live like this, because again, verse 8 is in red as well. So the same one that said ask is the same one that says everyone that asketh, receiveth. Okay, y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. Okay. Verse 8. When it says everyone that asketh, receiveth. Receiveth, and everyone that seeketh, findeth. So receiveth and findeth are in a special category, because they're in the present tense and indicative voice. That means that right now, present tense, it's a statement of fact. Y'all missed y'all shout moment right there. Y'all totally missed it. That was it. I was on my way up out of here. Jesus says that it is a statement of fact that everyone that asketh receiveth. He said it is a statement of fact that right now everyone that seeketh findeth. You've got to know that Jesus is saying to you, there is no reason for you to be like you are. There is no reason for you to go through what you're going through. There is no reason for you to put up with what you've been putting up with, because all you've got to do is ask. And guess what? Last time I checked, everybody that asks receives. I don't know about you, but that's the line I want to be in. Did you ever hear about if you just go down there, they'll give you a job? Did you ever hear if you just go here, they'll give you this free? If you ever hear they'll go down there and they'll supply this for you, all you had to do was just go there. Jesus is more credible than any of them other places, than any of those other people. He says all you got to do is ask, and everybody that's asking is going to receive. Now look here. Here's the key. Here's the key. Here's the key. There's a qualifying criteria for this, so that we don't miss it. The best commentary on the Bible is the Bible. So here it is. In order for me to ask, James says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So don't ask and think that you're not going to receive. You've got to ask with a mentality. You've got to ask being persuaded that God's going to do it. How many know that God is not a man that he should lie? Can I ask another question? Who are we that God would have to lie to us? What's so special? What's so powerful about us that God would have to figure up this story that he's going to do something for us and not do it? Who are we that God would try to have to impress us with what he's able to do and then not do it? If God said it, he will do it. Can I just ask you a question? Is there anything in here that you are in need of? Is there anything in your life that you really want changed? Is there anything that you want to happen that has not happened? Go ahead and ask God for it and see won't God do it for you. I'm not telling you what something that I've made up in my imagination. I'm just telling you what Jesus has said. And so all I've got to do is present the promise. All I've got to do is tell God, God, this is what you promised. You said that if I ask, I'm going to receive. You said, God, if I seek, I'm going to find. You said that if I knock, it shall be opened unto me. So, God, I'm asking you right now to do this. God, I'm seeking this and I'm expecting to find it. God, I'm knocking on this door and I need you to open it for me. Is there anybody in here this morning that's sick and tired of being where you are, sick and tired of being frustrated, sick and tired of going through what you're going through, sick and tired of it not working out for your favor? Stop complaining about it and ask God for it, because this is it. We cannot be mad, we cannot be frustrated, we cannot be disappointed that God did not do what we did not request for him to do. Y'all excuse me right there, but I just can't be mad that God didn't do what I didn't ask him to do. So what I'm going through, God sees, but have you asked him for it? So what you're going through, did you ask God to intervene in your life? Did you ask God to come fix it? Did you ask God to come save you? Did you ask God to come deliver you? You've got to know that when you ask, God will provide what you've asked for. Come here, Peter, would you testify for me? He says, I was out on the water walking with Jesus and I began to sink. It wasn't until I asked that God stretched forth his hand and delivered me. God, before you, I was sinking. Before you, you seen me going down, but until I humbled myself and realized that you've got the power to do it, you didn't stretch forth your hand and save me. And so if you are sinking, don't get mad at God, don't get mad at your neighbor, don't get mad at the person on your pew that God is blessing. Have you asked God for it? And if you ask God for it, I am convinced that God will do it. I've made up my mind to be crazy enough to believe God, that God can do exactly what he says. I believe that God can make ways out of no ways. I believe that God can turn things around. I believe God can make sure that what you need is exactly what you have when you need it. Can I tell you this, that God is an on-time God. That's what Grandmama said. He's an on-time God. Got happy and answered herself and said, yes, he is. You've got to know that God is some kind of God, because he will not allow you to trust in him and allow you to fail. His name is on the line. And so you've got to know that God will show up for you right when you need him to show up for you. God will answer you right when you need him to answer. God will provide for you right when you need him to provide for you. And so don't shortchange God on what he can do or what he will do. I just dare you to try God and test him and see what will happen. If you're going through, don't go through too much longer. If you're struggling, don't struggle any longer. Just ask God exactly what you are in need of and see won't he do it. Why would God lie? He will not lie. And so since he cannot lie and he will not lie, I'm just going to be crazy enough to trust God that he can do exceedingly above all that we ask or even imagine. Because why? Because he's God. Don't expect God to be like your mama. Don't expect God to be like your daddy. Don't expect God to be like your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your spouse. Don't expect God to be like your job. Don't expect God to be like your friend. Don't expect God to be like the rest of them folk, because he's not like anybody else. He'll make ways out of no ways. Come here, children of Israel. They'll tell you mountains were on both sides. Pharaoh and his army were behind us and the sea was in front of me. And so God made a way out of no way. I don't know who I'm talking to today, but there may be a way that you need God to make just for you. You may need God to come and do something specifically just for you. Yes, it's out of the norm. Yes, it's not average. Yes, you didn't see how God can do it. All you've got to do is tell God what you need and see won't God do it. Grandmama would say, have a little talk with Jesus. Tell him all about your trials. He'll hear your faintest cry and he'll answer by and stand by because God is able to do it. Don't think that God is going to shortchange you. Don't think God is going to hit the back door and run out when your problems come. God is going to stand up tall and answer your prayers. God's going to stand up tall and give you what it is that you desire, because what everybody that asks receives. Everybody that seeks finds, and everybody that knocks is going to be open. That means all I've got to do is ask God for it, and I'm going to get it. And so the moment I ask, I can sit down with my plate ready to receive. I can hold out my hand ready and waiting on God to provide. Why? Because I've asked God to do it. All I've got to do is stretch forth my hand to recognize, God, I trust that you're going to do it. I trust that you're going to provide. I trust that you're going to make a way. I trust that you're going to keep your word. And so I'm standing on the promises of God. I'm not leaning on anybody else but God. And so when I seek, I'm expecting to find. When I knock, I'm expecting for the door to fly open, because that's the God I serve. Maybe you've been wondering, thinking about a little bitty God, but trust in a mighty God. How many in here know that what a mighty God we serve? Anybody in here know that heaven and earth bow before him? Anybody in here know that he makes ways out of no ways? Anybody in here knows that he can do the impossible? Anybody in here know that he can blow your mind? Anybody in here know that he can calm a raging sea? Anybody know he can give sight to the blind? He can give hearing to those that can't hear. He can give a tongue to those that are dumb and cannot talk. You've got to know about the God we serve. And when you know about that God, you know that there's nothing that's impossible for God. Is there anybody in here today that believes that God can? Is there anybody in here today believe that God will? Is there anybody in here today to believe that your help is on the way? Time you see me, next time you see me, I expect a change in my life. The next time you see me, I expect to be a little different. The next time you see me, I expect God to have showed up and showed out in my life. So if I look a little different, please don't be mad. If I sound a little different, please don't be mad. If I walk a little different, please don't be mad. If I drive a little different, please don't be mad. If I live a little different, please don't be mad, because God has just showed up and showed himself to be God in my life. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm going to smile and celebrate the next time I see you, that God has done something special in your life. He's increased your finances. He fixed your health problem. He contained your mouth and your mind. I expect God to do something great in your life. And so I'm ready to shout when you shout, to dance when you dance, to celebrate when you celebrate, because that's the kind of God we serve. I expect to be different. I expect a change. I expect a miracle. I expect a blessing. I expect God to do what only God can do. And so right now, in advance, let me just tell God publicly, thank you for all that you're going to do. Thank you for all that you're going to fix. Thank you for all that you're going to restore. Thank you for all that you're going to add. Thank you for all that you'll take away. Thank you for all that you will repair, because you're God. I just want to tell you thank you early in the morning. Thank you even in the noonday hour. Thank you late at night, because there's nobody like my God. Thank you, Lord, for all that you've done. Thank you for what you've made. Thank you, God, for how you made it. Thank you, God, for how you turned it. Thank you, God, for all that you've done. I just came by to tell you thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Is there anybody in here that can open up your mouth to tell God thank you? No. I'm sorry. I need a little bit more than that. I'm talking about my God. Can you tell him thank you for all that he's done? Can you tell him thank you for all the ways he made? Can you tell him thank you? Just tell him, yes, I believe you, Lord. Yes, I believe you can. Yes, I believe you will.